Mccree here, Jesse Mccree. You might know me from a little game called Overwatch. By now, y'all might have heard there's a bit of an issue with a few folks. What made that particular bit of funsome? My name being among them. So, in my best effort to end sexism, I'ma change it. The only way the internet and a multi-billion-dollar company knows how. A Twitter vote. Sure, I ain't got nothing to do with that low-life, scum-sucking, yellow-bellied, dog-eyed pony soldier, what I was named after, and most folks likely don't even know. But that don't make a lick of difference. So, we got some options on what y'all can call me from now on, and these are your choices. Picked on account of they're fairly harmless. John Johnsington, Steve Stevenson, Bill Billingsley, Jeff Jefferson, and lastly, Shooty McShootyface. Now, we've no idea which one of these you're gonna win, but as God is my witness, we'll abide by whatever you want. So head on over to the Twitters and cast your vote today to end sexism through name changes. Now y'all take it easy now, partner. I'll see you on the old dusty trail.
This is Crashed While Loading, the fusion of entertainment and information.
Hello there.
Weekly updates and opinions on video games,
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
movies,
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
TV shows,
This is the way.
and so much more.
Gee, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
Off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Well, hello there, people of the internet, and welcome to the 46th episode of Crash While Loading. I am your host, Ashton Phoenix, and with me as always is nobody, because I do this show alone now, because it's easier. I've said this multiple times. It's just easier to do things when you have to only rely on yourself, and honestly, half the time, I'm still disappointed at the turnout. I don't even know if I always want to be here. I don't pay anything. I don't pay myself anything at all. There's no money in this. I guess I could be playing Call of Duty or watching the Survivor in there with Sid. But I'm here for you because I care. That's just how this works. Is I give until it hurts other people. I am other people. And I don't like it anymore. So anyway, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, especially you, Ericus, in the chat. I see you over there. And yeah, it's midday. I've had absolutely no time to work on his voice, and for some reason I felt like I slept into, something entirely different. Country. Doing deep country ain't always easy. Sometimes you just kind of lose it. I don't know. Y'all. Yeah. I also was very happy with the word funsome. I don't know why. That just sounded very Western to me. So, go figure. I don't know what idiot writes that stuff, but I'm sure he's very handsome. Anyway, so twitch.tv/crashedwhilelearning if you want to listen to it live, like Ericus and others have in the past. Future, and hopefully the present as well. I've got a lot to go over today. There was Gamescom, which was, for the most part, it had a few jewels in it. The World of Warcraft and Blizzard is thinking that they're going to end their sexism problem by changing the names of people like Mccree in Overwatch and then a whole bunch of other NPCs named after devs in World of Warcraft. But you know what else might help with that? Not shredding documents in HR that the state is demanding you hand over. That also might get you a little bit further than a simple name change. John Cleese is going to standing out against cancel culture. Final Fantasy is kind of screwed because it's doing successful, which is weird. Let's see, GRR Martin's basically George Lucas at this point. And then a thing I'm going to try, we'll see how it goes, is movies that came out in this month of August. I know I do video games each month right now. And I thought I've only got so many because I thought movies would be a little easier. Like, yeah, video games, I kind of get why it's kind of still an underground thing, and there's no real database that you could just search real well and include like all the major contenders without getting all the garbage games in there too. Turns out movies are not much better. I found one that was actually pretty good. I still had to do it year by year, and it stopped at 1999, which is weird because like 1999 was one of the best years for movies. So like we got The Matrix, I'm going to do a whole thing on that sometime. The Mummy was that year. There was just so many good movies. So anyway, but before we get to that, what have I been doing? What have I been playing? What have I watched? The answer to all those is probably more than is healthy for a reasonable adult human being to actually consume in a 1 week's period of time. I actually worry. I think I have a problem, really, and so far I have absolutely no intention of remedying that problem because it's a problem I really enjoy having. I like watching things and I like playing things. So let's see. I've been playing through Control. I think I mentioned that last week, and I've actually gotten farther in this than I have before, and I enjoyed it the first time, and I don't know why. Like I don't know if it was just where my head was at the time with that game. Like I was expecting it to be different, but I had a hard time getting around the oldest house, which is where everything takes place. It's basically if you've never played Control, or if you've never seen Warehouse 13, they're basically the same concept, except that one has just turned into a video game. And what it's this Bureau of Control. It's under the federal government, and there's items out there that like can gain powers and things like that. But they're not always good things. They're just like everyday objects, like a flamingo. One of them's a traffic light. There's a rubber ducky that teleports around. There's a safe that floats, which is, weird because they're heavy. It's that kind of like they're just imbued with power. And one of my favorite things is this is also by the company Remedy. They did Alan Wake, and Alan Wake is directly, and everything that happens in Silent Springs is directly like they mentioned that the people from the Bureau actually went out there to try to take care of that AWE, which is an altered world event. Which I love that crossover. But no, you're looking for your brother in this game, and like the place just constantly rearranges itself. The oldest house does, where this building is. Nobody sees it in New York, but it's just like multi-story building that inside constantly is moving around. Given it's fairly steady for it's a video game. You can't have your map always moving around and stuff like that. But there are areas where like things tilt, and they do weird stuff with geometry, and the powers that the main character has are awesome. Of course, I like it. I'm a fan of Jean Grey and Phoenix, and so telepathy and telekinesis. Well, she doesn't have telepathy, but telekinesis and flying around and like pulling objects to you, which is pretty much everything. Like you could pull chunks of concrete out of the wall and fling them at enemies, and it's got a very satisfying sound when you do it. Eventually, you get the power to float around a little bit. It's got an RPG mechanic where you level these things up as you go, and it can be a little difficult actually. And I babied it a little. They have a lot of options. They have one that's like a snap to, where like it will automatically target the next bad guy. I don't need that, but there's an option to make their hitbox a little bigger, and I did that one. And it's still challenging. I still die from time to time, but it's not near as challenging as it was without that, because I don't control well with like when it requires fine motor skills with the controller. Like I can do like Call of Duty with a mouse and keyboard, or when I did this with the keyboard, I was much better. But I'm playing it on my Xbox on my big screen TV, and it's much better, and I've really enjoyed it. But I've gotten real far into it. The story is awesome. The characters are neat. The game itself, even for, I think it was 2019, it still looks beautiful, and they upscaled it on the Series X. But I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to see how it finishes. Um, it's on Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, there's no reason for you not to try it. You'll know pretty quickly if you actually enjoy it. It's I don't know. It's really Remedy just does an amazing job. They're also the people behind. Now I can't remember it. They have such a quirky way because there's a lot of live action videos put into it. They have this weird little thing called the Threshold Kids, which is basically a live action puppet show that they've done with like tiny little puppets, and it's super quirky and super weird. And if you like to read, there's plenty of collectible reading material that goes in depth into more items, but it's not necessarily required, but it does give you an extra little layer of stuff. And playing Call of Duty still. I like to punish myself. Although I will say I had a good one the other day. It was free for all hardcore, and I was doing dog shit, actually is the phrase. I was doing dog shit bad. I had 3, I think we were well into the match, and I had a total of 3 kills. It's the first to 30 or the first to the time limit, and I think we were probably 1/3 to a halfway through the time limit, and with my 3 kills. It was really bad. It was embarrassing. I was like, I don't very rarely quit games. If I see a cheater, I'll quit a game. I didn't really see any. Unfortunately, it was just the fact that I sucked really bad, and I got, I think 3 times in a row I spawned and instantly got shot in the head. It was just a bad spawn. And then I came in first place. I came from behind and just decimated the rest of them once I finally got my groove, and I put a sentry turret, automated sentry turret in a quarter, and kind of camped near it. I didn't stay in the same spot. I don't consider it camping if you move. Like I just took over a building, going from spot to spot to spot. I was always on the move, and just decimated them after that. And it was so satisfying. I honestly, I was so surprised that when I got that final kill and the game ended, I was like, wait, was that me? I had no idea. I didn't realize I was that far ahead. It was awesome. Let's see. So I think I mentioned that I'd heard that there was going to be a snow trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home. Well, that turned out to be complete crap. They released it almost like immediately after that. I think in the multi-billion Disney company is trying to spite me. I know one of them was probably listening. I mean, it's got to be 1 out of 3 or 4 people that download the show every week. So I assume one of them is from Disney because they have ears everywhere. The mouse is watching you, even in the bathroom. It's a thing he has, but I'm not here to kink shame. Yeah. Anyway, it looks good. I mean, I honestly, if they had not released a trailer, I still would have seen it, and I would have been perfectly happy. And the fact that they released it, I can't stop myself. I could have just not watched it. I know I have that option, but I don't have that willpower. And it is basically exactly what we kind of figured. It's the Spider-Man multiverse. The amount of Doctor Strange in it was kind of surprising to me. I also liked his mug that said Zero Fox. It has a little picture of a fox given, and him just with the cloak, but with like a parka jacket on. Super casual, like. So I'm getting, I'm digging on it. I can't wait to see it. I think this coming week is the Shang-Chi, the 10 Rings, the Legend of the 10 Rings. I'll call it that, which seems to be getting pretty good preliminary reviews. So yeah, here's hoping. We also watched. Let's see here. I'll give a review on this. I watched the next 2 episodes of What If. The second one being the What If T'Challa, Black Panther, as a boy was abducted instead of Peter Quill. And the whole premise of this one is instead of the Arrow guy, I just forgot, Zondo, yeah, I think it was his name. Instead of him going to get Quill himself, he sends his goons, and they can't tell one kid from another. I think even though that one is totally white and blonde-haired, and the other one is clearly black and, royalty. Yes, like, and they're like, I don't know, they look exactly the same. But so it ends up, T'Challa ends up being Star-Lord, and they play through basically that parts of Guardians of the Galaxy, like that very first scene where Quill's getting that. I forget which gem it was. Was it the power gem? Yeah, I forget what the one was, but the ball scene where he's dancing and stuff like that. But it's with T'Challa, and it's just completely different because apparently this Star-Lord, he's very well respected. He's actually done good. He changed the Ravagers to do good across the galaxy. It has a lot of really cool surprises in it. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just gonna tell you it was definitely better than the Peggy Carter episode. I really enjoyed it. I've seen people complain like the next one, the third episode was like the Avengers Unassembled. That's not what they called it, but I think they missed the title. They should have just called it Avengers Unassembled, because it's basically what if the Avengers never assembled? Like somebody goes through and starts killing off all the Avengers before before the Avengers Initiative even starts, before the first movie. That one, both those episodes, I think were better. The Peggy Carter one was good, but it was just so meh. I don't know. And I like Peggy. Actually liked. Sib and I watched the Peggy Carter series. I like the character. That one was just, I don't know. It was just started. Felt really generic. Like, a little under. They didn't change a lot. They basically just retold the movie. But instead of Steve Rogers, it was just Peggy Carter. The characters not being who they were originally is a massive difference. And it makes, it's a whole new line. And I'm kind of noticing a thing where I think, like, the Avengers Assembled one actually kind of ends on not necessarily, kind of a cliffhanger. I'll say it's a cliffhanger. Even though each one is its own thing, I actually think they're going to go back to these separate stories. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in the next season. Like started off where the first What If ended, and just let you see a little bit further down the road of how drastically different everything changed. That's just the impression I get. I don't have anything to prove that. I don't know. But I will say the one with T'Challa with Chadwick Boseman, it was the last acting thing he did. That one was a lot of fun. It was really cool to hear his voice. The other thing that amazes me is the number of actual people they got. Like Jeremy Renner comes back to play Hawkeye. What's his face that plays Hulk is voicing him. Like nearly all of them, except in the guys that got like the Stark they did for Robert Downey Jr. sounds like Robert Downey Jr. It really if they can't get the people, they found somebody that is really close, and that's awesome. So I've enjoyed it. Sib's a little. She's not as big into that part of it as I am, but I grew up on those comics, so I have special place in my heart for it. I don't blame her. I can see where it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea because it doesn't really matter to the overall arcing story in any way, shape, or form. But I will tell you, the visuals are still actually really nice. We also we went on a date night yesterday. It was a lot of fun. We went to see Candyman 2021, the new one, which it's not a reboot, but it is a reboot, but it's also a sequel. It's a weird kind of reboot quill. I don't know. It's like they're retelling it in a way, but also it's expanding on sort of what has come before without directly referencing what has come before. It's a weird deal. I've noticed there's a few of them that do that. Like, what was it? Oh, like the new Halloween, the new ones. They're kind of reboots, but they only go off of the first movie, and then they ignored all the sequels after that. So, and they ignored the Rob Zombie version. So it's in a way it rebooted the series, but using stuff that came before. It's Mark Ruffalo. Thank you, Ericus. Reboot quill sounds like a quilt made of boots. I mean, if you use sneakers, I wouldn't suggest leather boots if you're going to make a reboot quill. So if you had to use sneakers, it'd be a sequel quill. Be a sequence. That's what it would be. So anyway, Jordan Peele was an executive producer, and I think he and one of the writers. So if you've seen Us and what was his He did the other one. The other one wasn't so. Us. Us wasn't my favorite. It was the Get Out. That was the good one. It delves real deep into race relations. In a lot of ways, it blames Whitey for a lot of it. And to be fair, the place that they filmed this in, I looked up, Cabrini Greens, is an actual place in New York. It was a projects in the 70s. It shut down. It's kind of funny because they explore it in the movie, or one of the characters does, but it's because it's still sitting there in New York to this day. I think it was New York. It was not Jersey. It had to be New York. So, and it was those projects were put there, largely by, Whitey. And that's how most of that stuff goes. People think they have good intentions, but you understand how projects work. I don't need to explain it to you. You're not, you might be stupid. You might also live in a fantasy world where those things don't exist, but it was at times a little heavy-handed with the race relation stuff, like some of the way they portrayed cops. Like back then, I kind of get it. It wasn't great. These days, yes, I know, but for the most part, you're not going to have as many cops as I saw in the modern day times of these movies without one single black dude on the force. There's a lot of black cops and Hispanic cops and cops of every race, creed, and gender even. So, it was a little heavy-handed with some of that stuff. But their politics aside that they always try to slip in, it was actually a good suspense movie. There's a big difference to me from a horror movie and a suspense movie. And horror actually has, I see those more as like the jump scare. Like, it really gets you, you're afraid. Like, this was more like, ooh, what's going to happen next? Or, one of those things Sib and I watched was Nuke's Top 5. Which, baby, we got a Nuke's Top 5 to watch. And so, with a lot of the Candyman stuff, you don't see him in the physical world. You see him in reflections. So, and one of those things that happens in Nukes is always did you see it? So, there were several times in the movie where we're like, did you see it? Because you just get somebody and there's a reflection, and way in the background of the reflection, you could see the guy with his coat, Candyman with his coat, like just standing there, not doing anything, but it's super creepy. So it was very suspenseful. I think we've watched almost every one of his videos. Like, we found it and then we watched through the back catalog, and then we watch it. I don't even call it Nukes. We just call it the Did You See It? Because that's, what he says all the time. What's funny is I saw, was it his name, Aniro, from over at Limit Break Radio that used to do the Final Fantasy 14 podcast. He was doing like a Skeptic Reacts thing, and it's so funny to see, like, hey, don't chew on that. Go on. She's getting ready to chew on her squeak toy and ruin, like, everything. Or make everything really squeaky loud. He's just reacting to it as like a skeptic. And I will say, there's some of them, like the ones that happen over, some of the Asian ones and some of the ones that happen in the Middle East, where they some of it seems very staged. And they're not difficult to do, really. A lot of them wouldn't be. And then there's some of them that are, they're pretty good like that. But some of them that have those channels that are just, it's constantly catching stuff all the time. It's really hard. And I like that stuff. But I'm still always very skeptical of it because some of it's very easy to do. And then there's others of that are just fantastic. Anyway, I'm getting off on Nuke. So Candyman, it was good, honestly. And what's funny is, I actually got the shit from Sib because I've not seen the full original Candyman, which apparently came out in 1992, which is not nearly as far back as I thought it was. For some reason, that felt like a Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, like level 80s level of thing. But no, it was in 92 was the first one. And there was a couple crappy sequels, apparently. And now this one. Overall, I would say it was worth a watch. I enjoyed it. You gotta, if you can't tolerate heavy-handed politics in your movies, you might have a hard time. Unless, of course, you agree with the heavy-handed politics, in which case you're going to love it because that's the way things work. As long as you agree with the politics, most people can handle it. If you don't, you have to, push that aside. But even that, it was only heavy-handed now and then. The overall, and it was funny, was it was a lot of people, like the main guy in this, which, by the way, if you're going to have your main character be in a movie like this, have him at least visit a gym. I mean, it was embarrassing, the 24-inch biceps that this guy had. I mean, it was just, I was embarrassed for his probably 30-inch waist and his probably 42-inch muscle-barreled chest. It was a little embarrassing how they let the main actor let himself go, to be frank. And, I mentioned it casually to Sib, and she just, wiped the drool off her chin. But the dude was in, like, damn shape. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I kind of hope they make more, to be honest. There's not a lot of, they've tried to remake some of the Jason and the Freddys, and it's been pretty not great. It'd be a nice way of putting it. So yeah, I'd probably give it a 7 or 8 out of 10, to be honest with you. And it's very suspenseful. I like the mood. The pacing is a little weird. It's kind of a slow burn movie up until the last quarter, and then it's you guys could you could have just added more time. You didn't have to rush through it as the way it kind of felt. So that'd be about my only gripe. The last bit felt a little rushed. Let's see here. Oh, and something neat. The first look at the Cowboy Bebop live action Netflix came out, and it looks good. I know I'm doing this audibly, so you can't see that, but if you like Cowboy Bebop, it looks promising. And that's really all there is to that, because it was just still photos, but they looked like the characters. I saw some people because Spike is played by an Asian guy, but it was an anime, so why wouldn't he be? You can't really, unless you're doing a really thing, he could just as easily been an Asian guy. Jill Valentine, she's, played by a white chick. Jet, played by a black guy that looks just like Jet. So, Ein looked like Corgi. I don't think we saw Ed, though. There's no pictures of Ed. Which, since she doesn't come into it until later in the show, that makes sense. Although they showed Ein, but not Ed, and Ein and Ed were a team. So, who knows? The Chunky Show. Give Chunky Show a chance, says Ericus in the chat. He met Chucky, and actually, that Chucky series looks really good. I'm totally willing to invest and sit down and watch that. I like Chucky though, even all the crappy ones that kept coming. I like Chucky. He's a good one. So moving on to the news. I really need to work on my pacing on this. Half hour in, and I haven't even touched the news stories. As I'm going to get the World of Warcraft and Blizzard crap out of the way, because unfortunately I have a feeling that this shit's going to just keep coming up week after week, and I'm kind of already getting tired of talking about it, which I guess is probably the point of what Blizzard would want. So, it's just old. But yeah, so apparently they're going to, as I joked about earlier, they're going to change Mccree's name, because Jesse Mccree was actually one of the people directly mentioned in the lawsuit from the state of California against Overwatch, and that's not a good look. Yeah, he's part of the Cosby crew, apparently. Then there's also, they announced that they're going to remove other developers' names in the 9.1.5 patch update. Their patch number, I think I mentioned that last time. Stupid. Which is headed to the playtest realm, PTR. Why did they call it it should be a PTS, playtest server. It's a server, it's not a realm. Quit trying to be different for the sake of being different, Blizzard. Look what it got you. Sexually harassed. But yeah, so they were like, and it was such a weird, the way they worded it, it has Shadowlands Update 9.1.5.6.49 Stardate 89 is going to the PTR, and a lot of what you'll find in this is a direct result of your collective feedback, which I'm sure was always very well written and polite. Includes long asked for changes to make it easier to swap Covenant and Conduits updates to make it so you don't need to repeat Covenant campaigns on alts. New character customization options for some races that were lacking, and many more changes to help you play the way you want. Please come back to us. We need money so bad right now. We're about to be sued, and California's just going to take it all and build shitty roads. I would assume. It also has updates to improve the game environment for our community, including additional changes to some content to better reflect our shared values, better visibility into the impact of your in-game reports of harassment, and more serious penalties for people engaged in disruptive behavior. Looking at you, Goldshire, you cesspit of shit and piss. They have no intention of doing any of that. I gotta be honest with you. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't ginkgo believe it.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
So I don't understand their thinking of it. I kind of get it with the Mccree thing. But honestly, if they hadn't come out and said that Mccree's name was being changed because it was this Jesse Mccree guy, I would not have known that as an outside player. I mean, I play Overwatch. I'm actually looking forward to Overwatch 2 when they have Shooty McShootface in there. I liked the Mccree. Actually, I was more of a D.Va guy. I like Mccree, but D.Va was the character I liked to play more than anybody else. I liked the mech. I was really good with that mech too, by the way. I just put that out there. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I guess it might work. I'm not sure. It seems doubtful that anybody is going to change their mind and come back because they took developers' names off of NPC's floating head thing. Moving on to things with cancel culture, John Cleese, who you might know from Monty Python, and like just being fucking John Cleese, is doing he's going to start a new documentary series called Cancel Me, where he questions why the new woke generation is trying to censor everyone, even for harmless jokes. I like this. He's come out real hard against cancel culture. It's not cancel culture. Yeah, well, every comedian says it is, and I'm going to go with the people that have been tried to be canceled for telling a joke and bringing, joy to people's lives through laughter, instead of just trying to be angry with your multicolored hair, multiple piercings, and talking about how you hate the man while you tweet out it angrily from your iPhone. Yes, me though. He says here, I'm delighted to have a chance to find out on camera about all the aspects of so-called political correctness. There's so much I really don't understand, like how the impeccable idea of let's all be kind to people has been developed in some cases ad absurdum. You could tell he's British because who else would cause ad absurdum? I want to bring the various reasonings right out in an open chat so that people can be clear in their minds what they agree with and what they don't agree with, and what they'll find and what they still can't make their mind up about. So I'm all for this. I hope it does really well. I hope to be able to watch it. I don't know. It says it was on UK's Channel 4, which means absolutely dick all to me. But this has been a thing. Chris Rock has warned about this. Billy Crystal, Dave Chappelle, John Lovitz, Bill Burr. And these guys are from every aspect of the political spectrum. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal, independent or Canadian. Canceling somebody because they told a joke that you found offensive is your problem, not theirs. That's the point. Cleese came across this thing because he defended J.K. Rowling because they called him transphobic just because she states biology, which apparently would probably get me canceled by these people as well. But, and I don't have a problem with the way you want to live your life. If you're a dude and you want to live your life as a chick, go for it. I don't care. I really don't. I'll call you whatever you want, and if you're stupid, I'll call you a fucking stupid fuckwit to your face too. Not because of what you are, just because you're annoying. But I do that to everybody. I don't care, man. Women, don't be annoying. That's all. It's easy. It's that hard. Like, don't be offended by everything. I mean, things offend me. I don't go on like, I joke about it, like the Mccree thing. It means absolutely nothing to me. It really doesn't affect my life at all. But I'm going to report about it because that's, I'm going to give my opinion because it's kind of what I do. But does it really hurt me? No, not really. No. If they renamed Diva, they'd be totally different. I mean, if you really think about it, they're calling her, it sounds like almost sexism. They're just calling her a diva just because she's good at what she does and she's a female, an Asian female at that. Wow, they should probably change that because that seems actually somewhat sexist to be calling a woman just because she's a woman. She's a diva? Is that automatically? And you say it in such a negative light. See how this shit works? It's stupid. You can turn anything against anything if you really try hard enough. Or you've got like 3 seconds of free brain time. Moving on anyway. Halo Infinite is announced for December 8th. This year. Which, good. They said it was going to come out by the end of the year. And it is. Still unfinished, no co-op and no forged. Or co-op campaign, which is a bummer for me and Seb. Because we wanted to play that. And which means I probably won't buy it since the multiplayer is free outside of the game. Right, there you go. Erica says, you bash me for being Canadian all the time, and I don't go writing hurtful emails and trying to get your show canceled. And sorry. Yeah, and you know why? You know why I bash him for being Canadian? Because it's kind of funny. I love Canada. I love Canadians. I really don't have a problem with them. I mean, they gave us Ryan Reynolds. I owe you guys a lot. Like, I love that guy. He's fantastic. He also gave us Jim Carrey, which was only good for the first half of that, and then it kind of soured. And you guys can have him back now, broken and battered and beaten mentally. Also, Mariah Carey, which is, she's all right. I don't really have anything against her, but that song gets old from Titanic. But no, there's and I bash on Americans and stuff like that all the time. Canadians are just easy because Ericus is there, and I think it's funny to pick on him. That's really all it is. And he can totally, you can make fun of me for living in trailer trash and driving my El Camino down there when it's not on blocks in the front yard. Do. It's easy. I had an El Camino, by the way. It was primer gray, so it actually kind of works. Anyway. But yeah, it's cancel culture and everyone being offended. Just laugh. Laugh at yourself, otherwise someone will laugh at you for you. Now, let's play some football after the show. Now, do you mean soccer or do you mean real football? Played with the pigskin and pads, not that sissy flying around the field for a score to end 2-0. That's not that. Most of the world calls it football. It's just you know what? No. I think that my Canadian brothers and sisters are with me on this one for the most part. You guys in the NBA, you guys got the Toronto Blue Jays. Which is America's team, by the way. The Toronto Blue Jays are America's team. It's such a funny thing. I don't know how that works, but yeah. Anyway, in a weird bit of news, Outriders, which is a game I talked about, it's by Square Enix. It came on to Game Pass. The guys that made that, People May Fly, was that it? People Can Fly. There we go. That's the developing company. Apparently, still don't know how well the game has sold, and haven't received 1 cent from Square Enix, who was the publisher, which is a little weird. Like, that seems like a really bad deal. Square Enix has been, outside of Final Fantasy XIV, they've been doing a lot of shady stuff lately. It's not good. But People Can Fly, I guess they've sold between 2 and 3 millions, but have not gotten actual figures from Square Enix itself. And the game does not appear to be profitable yet. The reason they're thinking, the reason they were talking to this is to investors, because People Can Fly is a company that has investors, and they're trying to explain why we haven't gotten money out of this game. Because they weren't supposed to earn royalties until Square Enix was paid off for everything it put into it. And at 2 or 3 million copies, for some reason, they still haven't paid into it, which means that maybe Square Enix hasn't been paid off, or they're being shady. I don't know which. But part of that is from Square Enix's. They don't know how much promotional money Square Enix put into the game itself to know what the marketing costs and QA costs and all that stuff were. So they don't have any of those figures from Square. It seems like that's something they're just having to take it on the good word and care of Square Enix to like be upfront and honest with this. They don't have anything in this contract that they can go after, which seems like it sucks a lot. That does seem entirely possible. The other thing that happened too with this is I'm wondering if this is a Scarlett Johansson thing, like how Disney put Black Widow in for $30 on Disney Plus and then didn't pay her out of that. Well, Square Enix made a deal with Microsoft to have Outriders put on Game Pass same day as that. So did they not have that in the contract, I'm wondering? And so Square Enix makes this deal, keeps all that money that they made from Microsoft, that Microsoft paid out to have this on their Game Pass day one, and then cut People Can Fly out of that and only did it based on sales? Because that's super not good. That's very shady. Very not cool if that's what happened. We don't know because they've not contacted in any way, shape, or form. And Square Enix hasn't told People Can Fly or anybody else what happened. Let's see. They had over here, Outriders did appear to have a wind at its back, launching with over 120,000 players on Steam, quadruple of what came out with Square Enix's Marvel's Avengers did at launch. So Steam is, it's not the perfect thing, but 120 people playing it on Steam all at one time, at least when it first launched, that's a lot of people. That's, they're it's not only 120 million bought it, and then they all played at the exact same moment in history. No, that's not how that works. That means probably if you did 10% of which is probably high, the people that bought it, you're at over 1 million people just on Steam. Right? A lot of people, unfortunately, forgot about Outriders. I liked it. I just fell off of it super easy because it had, especially at the start, it had so many bugs and things like that, and I couldn't get it to launch properly, so I just kind of gave up on it. I might go back to it one day, but I highly doubt it at this point. I just feel bad for them. So I don't know what's going to come of that. It just seems like a super raw deal. And speaking of raw deals, go into an indie dev that said he's leaving the industry indefinitely thanks to the exploit in Steam's refund policies. So this guy, Solo, his name, I think. Solo developer Amica Games released a psychological thriller called Summer of '58 at the end of July, receiving mostly positive reviews on Steam. But he tweeted out that the game's short length has led to a high number of refunds being processed, leaving Amica out of pocket. So the game isn't long. Like, it can apparently be completed in under the 2-hour mark. It was done by a solo, one dude who made this thing. And so people are finishing it and using the Steam refund policy that you don't have to play 2 hours and getting a refund. So they're buying the game, playing it to its completion, and then getting their money back. And like, dude, that's not his fault. Like, the game that he was able to design and wanted to make was as long as it needed to be. Especially if it's like a psychological. It sounds like he basically would have made an interactive movie almost. So, sorry, I thought something keeps feeling like it's touching me on my arm. It's driving me crazy. So, and I've seen people like, well, in the comment sections, of course, of IGN, which is where intellectual honesty goes to die a slow and painful death. Well, if the developers would just make a longer game, it wouldn't matter, and it's not Steam's fault. Which, since when do people always like? I'll defend Steam when it needs defending, but I'm not. This is their bad policy. This one size fits all school zero tolerance thing. Like, I don't care who threw the first punch. You fought back and defended yourself from getting curb stomped, so you're suspended too. That kind of bullshit doesn't work. So they need to have a little more finesse in their policies. And I don't know if, Like maybe it's a percentage, like the average number of hours that they think the company says that the game can be played. Like if somebody plays over a percentage of that, or like an arbitrary, maybe if a game is only so long, like a half hour, and because if a game is 10 plus hours and you've played 2 hours of it, fine. You still have you've done 1/5 of it. And you've got a lot to go, so you may not know it. But to be honest with you, like 30 minutes for most games, especially these short ones like that, like I know within that 30 minutes if I'm going to like the game. MMOs are a little different, like Renfail has been doing, he finally got through Final Fantasy A Realm Reborn. And A Realm Reborn is the weakest part of that entire MMO. Even Stormblood, which is their worst expansion, is still better than A Realm Reborn. Which is staying a lot because A Realm Reborn is still really good. But it takes a lot of time to get through. Like, if you only had 2 hours of Final Fantasy XIV to play that, you would leave the game thinking it wasn't great. But it's an MMO. Or, like The Witcher, which is, a 60, 80-hour game. Or Grand Theft Auto. Or those, or Mass Effect. Even single-player games like The Last of Us. Or Breath of the Wild. Not that that's on Steam, but you know what I mean. Like 2 hours of those games, you already know you're going to get buying it or not before you get there, or refunding it or not. But if like what was one? Firewatch, which is a walking simulator, I played through, and Sib and my daughter actually they sat and watched me play the whole. We just played the whole damn thing from start to finish. It was a lot of fun. But I could have gotten, 2/3 of the way through that. If I was shady and just been like, I'm just going to refund it, and or there's been a few short, Inside, I think is another one that was it was like you can beat that in under 2 hours easily. You shouldn't be able to get a refund on a game that you finish. I mean, that seems to be, or even if you get 50% of the way through it, you shouldn't be able to refund it, period. Their policy is dog shit garbage, just straight up. Battlefield 2042 isn't out yet. It looks interesting. I might actually play this Battlefield. I'm more of a Call of Duty guy. I'm not so much on the realistic shooter aspects, but also 2042, so it's a little futuristic. Not out till October. Already has cheaters. Like literally, there's the Rust Hack place has Battlefield 2042 hack features, and these things you like pay monthly to like get these hacks continually, like in all these games. Like you pay a monthly fee to this company to get their undetectable cheats for aimbots, radar, wall hacks. They boast that this they have 1.2 million registered users and have never been banned from a Battlefield. That have never been banned from a Battlefield game because they use their cheating software. It's just these cheating, these botters, these scalpers are just destroying the gaming industry, and it sucks so hard. I know I don't really have it on here, but Call of Duty banned 100,000 people, and from another podcast I listened to, I think it's called Drop something. I don't remember. If you don't listen to, I get bored during the day, so I look for podcasts, and these guys are actually pretty funny, very opinionated, and young, but still informative. And they said they noticed it in Warzone. They had fun and actually won 3 in a row without the cheaters there. And that lasted for about 24 to 36 hours before the cheaters slowly started cycling back in and showing up again. So it's a temporary thing, but at least it actually made a dent. And hopefully they're like Call of Duty's supposed to have new stuff, anti-cheating stuff coming down the pike. We'll see if it actually holds up. But I just found it fascinating that 2 months before the game's out and very few people have had a chance to play it, let alone be able to download it, that they've already got this stuff in the works and it's coming. It's just a damn shame. Moving on to Final Fantasy XIV, the director Yoshida has mostly bad news about the server issues because of the stuff going on in World of Warcraft. Even before the California stuff and the lawsuit, they were having issues, a lot of issues. with server loads. They've had like Balbong, you still can't get a house. Their housing stuff and all that is just miserably bad. It's not good. It's just a terrible way to do something like that, not have everything instanced. But because of the influx of new players, they've had to completely shut down the Aether server data center, which has my server Balmung on it, to new characters. And they've upped the login thing for all the servers to add the number of people that can be in there, because I'm sure they had a buffer, and so they've just updated that. They've added a few things that will kick you out sooner if you're just idle for too long. But the thing that really matters is that they need new servers, and there's no good news on that. Largely because it takes a while to get that stuff done, and now there's the chip shortage and COVID that are keeping them from being able to add that. He said here, let's see, there is an ongoing global shortage and increased demand for semiconductors, and quite frankly, we are still struggling to source the required equipment. Additionally, the resurgence of COVID-19 cases in Japan has raised major concerns regarding our ability to travel overseas for on-site implementations. He said the circumstances are far from ideal, and they'll continue to persevere. And, with they even have here on Endwalker's just 3 months away, and the congestion that's what people are going to be coming back. So they're going to have even more. I've noticed that the time to wait to get into the game when I do log in has gone from like 10 to 20 people ahead of me, which still only takes like 5-10 seconds, to now like 60 to 80, which takes maybe a minute still. I mean, it's not that bad. I'm not waiting. It's not like, World of Warcraft or EverQuest 2 or any of these games when they launched, and it was like an hour to 5 hour long wait just to get in the damn game from login. So it's a shame. I'm glad they're doing good, but it's also, there's a point of limited returns. Other news, God, I haven't even got to Gamescom yet, and I'm already an hour into this. Jeez. Well, there wasn't a lot at Gamescom. So the Elden Ring, which a lot of people are excited for. Apparently, it's famous that GRR Martin is supposedly wrote for it, but apparently he actually did more of just, according to Yosorio Kiteo, who's worked on the game, George R.R. Martin provided us with the mythos for the world, which takes place many, many years before the events of the game, and really shapes a lot of the current state of the world and its characters. Miyazaki, who's the guy, Hidetaka Miyazaki, he's the art director, has had a lot of fun playing around in the mythos. So basically, Martin came up with the world ideas and the world building, and then Miyazaki and his team went in and filled in like the dialogue and things like that, which is cool. Which honestly is the way George R.R. Martin has turned into George Lucas, in a way, because that's what he did for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He came up with the ideas for the world, but he didn't actually write those movies, which is why it was such a drastic difference from those two movies to when he did the prequels, which he came up for and wrote everything on, which is why the dialogue was so bad, because even before that, he freely admits that he is not a good dialogue writer, which is why it was so stiff and bad in so many spots. He just doesn't write dialogue, and yet for some reason he didn't have enough people around him to be like, hey, George, your dialogue is fucking garbage. We should probably change that and have somebody that's better at writing dialogue do that for you. But it's hard to tell George Lucas that. So I'll go over Gamescom stuff real quick. I'll hit the big highlights. The big one, honestly, one of the coolest things from it, aside from the Halo coming out on December 8th, was they showed a Halo Infinite Elite Series 2 controller. I would have pre-ordered it if it hadn't already been sold out by the time I saw it. It looks great. I wanted a Elite Series 2 controller to start with, but getting my hands on one of those, would have been so nice. Can you avail? Is it pre-order? Can I pre-order it now yet? Maybe. Did they have more in stock? Let's check live on the show. It's just out of stock. Man, it looks so cool. It looks really nice. That's all I had. They did have 15 minutes of Elden Ring, which looks cool. It's a Souls-like, and I just don't do those types of games real well. I know a lot of people are super excited for Elden Ring. I'm mildly curious. That's about it. I was more excited for Marvel's Midnight Suns trailer, which had an awesome cover of, I think it was Enter the Sandman. And it basically, they've made up a new character, which is why you're the character you play. Apparently, you can customize and make her or him. I guess it shows a her in the trailer, but I guess it can be whatever you want. But it features, it's got Iron Man, Wolverine, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Blade, Doctor Strange. One of the ones I was thrilled to see was Magic, which is Colossal's little sister. And she was also in the New Mutants movie. But it's just a cool trailer. And it's, you can't go off of these CGI trailers. But the people that did this, are the same ones that did XCOM, which is a really good tactical, over-the-top shooter kind of thing. And I'm not usually big on those games, but I might have to make an exception for this. They haven't really. September 1st is when they're going to show gameplay. So hopefully next episode I'll be able to see what we think about that. Moving on, Saints Row is getting a reboot. People apparently are really upset that this, because Saints Row was such a silly series after, I think, the second one, and this is taking it back to the more serious note. I don't know if they watched the same trailer I did, but still looks like a pretty fucking wacky game. Like, they did stuff in a car that made the Transporter and Fast and the Furious look like they were based in solid world mechanics. Like, there's nothing not whimsical and over the top in this. I don't know what people were watching. It looks interesting, from a CGI trailer perspective. You can't go watch much on that, but it made me interested, and I'm not a huge Saint Rose fan. I think I played one of them, and it was all right. It was just it was a less serious Grand Theft Auto, which is saying a lot, but their willingness to go that route works because Grand Theft Auto is what it is. You got to make your own thing. You can't just redo Grand Theft Auto with a little bit more silliness. Horizon Forbidden West is confirmed to have a 2022 release date. Says here February 18th. We'll see. It doesn't surprise me. I didn't expect that game to come out this year. Got an extended look at the Vanguard, Call of Duty Vanguard, which takes place during World War II campaign. I'm more and more excited for Vanguard as I see more and more of it. We haven't seen a lot of. I don't think we've seen any of the multiplayer yet, and that's what we're really do. Oh, that was apparently somebody. Oh, and Ghost Rider. Yes, thank you. Eric says here in the chat, half of them love the serious feel of Saints Row 1 and 2, and the other half love the wackiness of Saints Row 3 and 4. I couldn't be more fractured, but this is a game that feels like they didn't want to appeal to either side. See, I think that it looked to me like they were trying to meet in the middle. Like, there's still some wackiness, but still some serious stuff in it, too. That was the vibe I got. I don't know. I didn't really play many of them. I just always kind of saw them from afar. Like, the same way I look at EVE Online. It's interesting, but it's not my cup of tea. This one might be. But again, it was only a CGI trailer. You have to wait until you see actual gameplay and what they're doing before we can really kind of, judge if it's going to be worth it. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which apparently is something a lot of people are really digging on. I love the Lego and I love Star Wars, but I've not really ever been a fan of the Lego Star Wars games, and that's just me personally. There's nothing wrong with them. They're good games. And that said, when I watched the trailer, I was like, I actually might have to get this one and give it a try. It looks good. It's coming out spring 2022, which, God, yeah, okay. As well as from this game's delay from spring of 2021, so it is over a year past when it was originally supposed to come out. That's what I was thinking. Death Stranding showed some of the director's cut. Forza Horizon 5. I'm not a racing car guy, but Forza Horizon is just a breathtaking game. Like, I downloaded 4. I didn't play very much of it. I'm just not a racing guy. But the more I see of it, the more I really... I'm going to have to definitely try Horizon 5 and really give it a good go. Because it looks amazing. And if they, it really is the signature, this is what our Xbox can do, and this is what I think they also released it on computer. This is what this is going to push your PC to the limits and make it scream for its mama. It's just I don't know how they manage to up themselves every single time, but they do an amazing job. Metroid Dread had another trailer. I'm looking forward to it. October 8th. Oh, it's only like a month and a week, 5 weeks away. I was teasing Ericus for never having played Metroid, even though he had a Metroid thing in his Discord server of Samus Aran. But I actually never played Prime. I think the last Metroid I fully played through was Super Metroid on the SNES, which was, probably almost 30 years now. Good Lord. But it really looks good, and I'm excited for it. I don't usually get into those Metroidvanias very much, but, it's actually a Metroid. So, and then there was one that had a great trailer. This is called Giants Uprising. The cinematic trailer was fantastic. Looked great. Then I saw the gameplay. Hot garbage. Yeah, nothing about this game looks good. Other than the cinematic trailer. The cinematic trailer was awesome. We finally got to see some Dying Light 2 in a gameplay trailer. I loved the first Dying Light, even though I don't think I finished it. I do love the game. It's an open world first person zombie thingy. The parkour in this with like grabbing onto stuff and jumping, building the building and off of walls and bouncing back and forth looked really smooth. It was very, very Mirror's Edge, which is a game I couldn't get into, but I appreciated the movement mechanics. But it looks good, and I would totally buy this. The Xbox Cloud Gaming is coming to Series X and S and Xbox One the holiday of 2021. Now, this means a little less for those that actually have got an X and an S series, but if you own an Xbox One, this is kind of a big deal. That means you can play games on your Xbox One through the cloud gaming, like the Microsoft Flight Simulator 10, which makes PCs cry horribly bad. It's just really cool that they're letting people stream, and yeah, I get it. Streaming is not the best way to play. You don't want to be playing Halo multiplayer streaming through xCloud. But if you are playing any game that doesn't require Twitch kind of inputs and stuff like that, because even the lag inputs are supposed to be really good. And when I played it briefly, it felt really good. Like I could notice it, but it wasn't game destroying. So that's just a cool thing. Another game I'm excited for, which is the Tmnt, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is basically a sequel to the old 4-player arcade of the Ninja Turtles back when, I was a kid in the 90s. April O'Neil's a playable character. So you've got the 4 turtles and April, like kicking butt. And she also was announced to be in their Smash Brothers, like Nickelodeon. I forget what is it called. Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl. So apparently she's in that along with Cat Dog. So it's just basically Smash Brothers with Nickelodeon characters. And okay, I'm not the only one that noticed that. I was wondering about that. Yes, Ericus in the chat says April be extra thick with 2 C's. She was in that, but I mean, I'll give that to the fact that she was Chun-Li like. She was definitely Chun-Li like. Amazon's New World open beta announced. Supposedly this is still coming out the 28th of December. We'll see. It's a bunch of junk. Blasphemous is getting a sequel, which I never played the first one, but the guy has a weird pointy cone head. And there was not much. There was a couple of things. The only other thing was that stupid game called Doki V, which looks like a chibi, happy Pokemon-like version of Grand Theft Auto. And the style of it was really... The characters are a little creepy, but the gameplay and the world was really well done. Really well done. Super kind of on the that looks really interesting if you didn't see the Doki V thing. The music turned a lot of people off apparently because it started out as like J-pop and then it switched over to English, but it still was the same song. That doesn't bother me. It's a trailer. I don't really worry about the music in trailers. So with that is all I had in the news. So that leads us to the final segment, which is movies that released this month of August throughout time. And when I say that, I mean up to 2000 because that's as far back as I could find stuff. And there's a whole bunch of really good ones, but I picked out the ones I found just briefly. Going back to 2014, and good, memorable. Maybe I should say memorable, because just because it's memorable doesn't make it good. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Michael Bay movie came out in 2014. For some reason, that one feels like it's been out a lot longer. Maybe because I didn't really... I mean, it was okay, but they were creepy. Like, super, like... They were like Goombas in Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Creepy. Yeah. Not a huge fan of that. And I don't mind Michael Bay's stupid explosions and crappy stuff. It's fine. But that one was just, it was a little generic. 2013 had Elysium with Matt Damon. I actually enjoyed that one. That's the same guy that did like District 9 and things like that, the director. 2010 had two good ones. The first Expendables, which is good, just good, dumb, stupid action star movie fun. I enjoy them. They got a good comedy. They got good action. I mean, what's not to love? And 2010 also was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is a movie that still holds up really well. And has Captain America in it. I mean, he's one of the evil boyfriends. So he, got that going for you. 2007 was it's Halloween, which is the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween. He had that big dude playing Mike Myers. 2006 in August. Tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. Or if you watched it on a TV channel, I'm tired of these. What was it? I forgot. I just had it. He's like, I'm tired of these mother freaking snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. So bad the way they read that. Snakes on a Plane came out in 2006, 15 years ago. God, again, that was a terrible movie, but so much fun. One that's near and dear to me, though, 2003, Shaolin Soccer. He's a guy that's Stephen Chow. If you've never seen Shaolin Soccer, and I cannot remember the other one. I meant to put that on here. Stephen Chow. And it's one of my favorite movies, and I cannot believe, wow, he's gotten old. Kung Fu Hustle. He's also did Kung Fu Hustle, which is a fantastic, love that movie. Just so quirky, and like he's always a big fan of like the old Looney Tunes, so it's like a cross between live action but martial arts and Looney Tunes and stuff like that. But Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle, just fantastic movies. Also in 2003, Jason vs. Freddy, which I cannot believe it's been that long since. It's been almost 20 years since Jason vs. Freddy came out. And that seems like I just saw that yesterday. That was actually not that bad. It was surprisingly good for a crossover film, and one that we never thought we'd see. Unlike Alien vs. Predator, which I think was also on this in one of the years I saw, but I hated it so much I didn't even want to put it on here. Guess I should have. That movie was just terrible. And 2002 had Signs by M. Night Shyamalan, and that was right before he fell off the deep end and went into weird, boring, not good territory like The Happening and The Village, which I hated both of. And 2001, just because why not, Jeepers Creepers, which is just a dumb movie that did actually really well and got several sequels. I don't know why. It just did. That's just the way those things work. So that's some movies that came out in August of movie history. I was going to say a year, but it's like in movie history. I'll find a better place to find ones that go back to the 80s and 90s, because that's where a lot of the good nostalgic ones are. And those are the ones that are going to be like, oh my God, I saw that when it came out. I am so old. That kind of thing, which is exactly the thing I want to do. I want to make you guys as miserable as I am when it comes to realizing how old you are. Yeah. So that's the thing I'm going to do. With that, I'm calling it. Show's over. Tired of talking to myself and Ericus. Although I appreciate Ericus tuning in live, and you tune in live, I'll interact with you on the show too. I'm more than happy to read what you say and respond to it like a reasonable human being. You filthy piece of shit. Just kidding. Or am I? You dog-faced pony soldier. Podcast hustle. The hustle being that you think you're entertained the entire time, and really you're just trying to find out ways to kill yourself. I know, that's the hustle. So anyway, appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, everybody. Go to twitch.tv/crashed-while-loading. Click the About button. Go to the Discord. Join it. Share any gaming, movie, TV news you find interesting. I'll throw it in the show. Comment it. And if it's stupid, I'll let you know it's stupid. Because, you're wasting my time. I got things to do. I got mouths to feed. Ain't nothing in this world for free. Little Cage the Elephant for you. So anyway, I'm out of here. I'm Ashton Phoenix. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/Husky by the Geek to hear all his latest in video game rock covers and original music. His latest Mega Man one was really good, by the way. Totally go out there and listen.